Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today. I'm actually beyond excited right this second. I just got off a Zoom session with a bunch of other people from across the country as well this morning for about an hour and a half. And I actually posted earlier this morning on my Facebook wall about the fact that during every downturn, what we think is just like the end of everything, that so much is happening and it just is, it can be very negative, it can be very depressing, but at the same time, during every downturn, there are people who are making their upturn, meaning they are thinking of creative ways to go out there and make money and things like that. And with that being said, I don't know about you, but I grew up in a household that I was not ever taught about residual income. And I don't know what you know about residual income, but I didn't ever really even hear that term until I was almost in my 30s. And again, it wasn't something, I was brought up in a world of work hard and go to school, get good education, get a good job, that kind of thing. And that's really what the path we went down. What changed everything for us is during the downturn in the early 90s, basically what happened is we had moved to Florida in 1990, Pip?
Yeah.
In 1990, we moved to Florida because that was our dream. We wanted to move to a warmer environment. And we bought a house, our first house ever, and we were in our house a few months. I was now pregnant with our first son, and I got laid off. And 3 weeks later, my husband came home to announce that he had been laid off that day, and we were not expecting that at all. So there we stood looking at each other going, what do we do now? And just like a lot of people right now are dealing with a lot of things, this may not be something for you, and we appreciate that. I mean, no big deal. What we do know is that all of us on this call know somebody that's just praying and looking for something. And they're looking for a way to be able to create an income stream, whether it be residual or not. This is going to be residual income streams that I'm talking about today, but it's not, you can't create a residual income stream without doing some work up front. And so I want to just cover residual income briefly, because again, I don't know where you come from, but we all know people. And I just appreciate you for evaluating this on behalf of the person who invited you today, because in some way, shape, or form, we all help one another. And hopefully you can help somebody out there today by just seeing and getting some more information. And so real quickly, linear income versus ongoing income. I was introduced, and the whole way I was introduced to residual income was through a book called Cash Flow Quadrant. And you'll see it actually listed on here under this diagram. And it was written by Robert Kiyosaki. He actually wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which was his first book. And then after that, followed it up with Cash Flow Quadrant. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad kind of lays out the foundation of why he even got these thought processes, because he was exposed to what he called his rich dad. And then he was also exposed to what he called his poor dad. And through that, he created this cash flow quadrant system. So you may have seen this before, but if not, basically it's just an intersection of two lines that produce four quadrants. One being that people earn income as an employee. Two, they would earn income as a self-employed individual. Three, as a business owner. And four, as an investor. And sometimes these can overlap, but basically what's interesting about this is when I read this book, I actually thought I was a business owner. The government told me, you have an FEIN number, you're a business owner. But what I realized when I read this book is I didn't have the key word that's on here, and that's leverage. I actually was so overly self-employed that if I didn't show up to do the job, I didn't get paid. And I think that's a lot of people. We put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into either being an employee or self-employed. And why do I say that? Because 95% of America is on this side of the quadrant. They're either employees or self-employed people. And only 5% of our country are business owners that actually have created leverage, or they're investors that they've created leverage through money. So we either create leverage through people or we create leverage through money. What's interesting about this concept, though, that he tells us is 95% of the wealth in our country comes from this side of the quadrant. So 5% of the people make this up, but 95% of our wealth comes from here. Only 5% of the wealth come from employee and self-employed. And we're finding that out right now, that a lot of people, again, it may not be you, but a lot of people are finding that taking 1 month without pay is literally closing them down. Like they don't know where to turn because they didn't have leverage on their side. Maybe they didn't prepare for that rainy day, or maybe they prepared for the rainy day, but they don't know how they're going to retire because they don't have enough socked away. And I'm going to get into that in a second. So basically, these people on this side trade time for money. And you probably have already read through all of this, so I'm not going to go through all that today. But really, the key word here is leverage. And what I came to learn together with my husband was the fact that leverage was really the missing ingredient to pretty much everyone's financial recipe that didn't have what they were looking for. And so I don't know what it is that you're looking for. You know, we go to school or we go get some kind of education or training or something to be able to have a skill. And then we end up with debt. So we either end up with student loan debt or credit card debt to be able to go out and get that self-employed business started, or we end up buying a house or cars, and then we have kids and, you know, the white picket fence and the dogs and the cats, what have you, but we end up with debt. And the sad part is, I think all of us here today already know this, that Social Security is not going to be our answer. Social Security is not going to be able, no one's going to be able to live off of $1,175 per month on average. But what's interesting is what we looked at, and my husband's very into financial readings and things like that and being up on all of that. Right now, we're not even seeing 2% interest. So these statistics right here are based on 2% interest, but right now it's running somewhere around 1%. So that would mean you'd have to double this $600,000 figure and have 1.2 million in the bank to be drawing $1,000 a month. And again, I don't even know anyone that honestly can comfortably live off of $1,000 per month coupled with their $1,175 from Social Security. So the question is, who do you know that would be interested in evaluating something that could give them an opportunity to create ongoing residual income? This call that I just got off of this morning, I was on with 4 people, and collectively between the 4 people, they are earning over $200,000 per month consistently for the last like 15 years, long time. And how are we able to do that kind of thing? Because there's a system in place that allows us to be able to take people and show them how to convert their spending, their expenditures, the things you're already spending money on, into an income stream and leveraging that with other people by working cooperatively together. So it's very similar to a co-op or a BJ's Wholesale or a Costco, where you typically pull lots of people together to be able to bring the cost down. Well, here we bring lots of people together to bring the income up. So it's just a little different. So again, I don't know why you're here today. It might be just to evaluate, to help the person who invited you and lead them to and connect them to somebody. It might be that you are looking for something for yourself, and it might be something on this list. I know for ourselves, when I put my toe in the water, and I say I put my toe in the water, I put my toe in the water because when somebody brought what I'm going to share with you, I honestly thought, oh, it's another one of those things. I had been overly exposed to what we call multi-level marketing. And I don't know if that's something you've ever been exposed to, but I'm a very outgoing person. And I was exposed, and I say overly exposed to multi-level marketing. It wasn't a year that went by that somebody didn't try and get me to evaluate something and look at something. But I tell you, one of the biggest mistakes here is people like myself at the beginning assumed it was something it was not. So my goal is to just show you a high level of what we offer, to say there's something here, but if you choose to not dig deeper to learn, then I could tell you that you may walk away assuming that it is another one of those things. But I tell you, it's people like Carl and Charlotte and myself and whoever else is on here, Brianna I saw was on here. It's people like us that have taken the time to dig in because we said, what if, just what if they're saying is really true and there could be something different here. And I can tell you, there's no way that I would have gotten to where we are today with my husband and I doing this together. This is our only income stream other than our investments. Basically, we would never have been able to retire him from corporate America in his executive position. And that was 11 years ago. But because of this business, we've been able to do that and really carry virtually no debt. So the solution that I'm going to talk to you about is this company But the company offers so much because we all shop for some of the same things. We're all buying toilet paper and, hair care. And well, nowadays I could use some hair care, honestly, but we're all buying certain things that are the same, but we all have certain things that we like differently. So this company offers a lot of different things to a lot of people. We always say there's something for everyone and everything for someone. We don't just know which one of those people you are. But while we were in this downturn in 92, my husband and I were kind of looking and going, okay, we just had, we were pregnant. I was pregnant in 91, 92. And while the things were all in a downturn, here is somebody, J.R. Ridinger, who had come up with this thought process in the 80s that was written about in a New Jersey newspaper, unbelievably, had this concept of what he called this mall without walls, where people could shop from this virtual mall of all. Now, keep in mind, in the 80s, nothing was virtual. But he wrote about this and came up with the concept. So in 1992, when we were in a major downturn, he was out there going, you know what, I'm gonna create something and go out there with it. And so we have had 28 years of growth. And what's incredible to me is the same company, the same people that he surrounded himself with, his board of directors back then, that I was introduced to at their 4th year in business, still is together today. We've lost one that passed away, but everyone is still together today because JR was very, very creative in making sure that they were business owners just like us on this phone call. So they don't sit in some top office at the top of a proverbial pyramid and get paid and just be able to not worry about everybody else. We're all in it together. So we're a global company. We do business globally. I will say this. You cannot buy a rating with the Better Business Bureau. I learned when I was in Tampa Bay that you can buy ratings with magazines and newspapers and media and talk shows, but you cannot buy a rating with the Better Business Bureau. We have an A+ rating that's long-standing with the Better Business Bureau, and we've won that Torch Award 2 times in the state of North Carolina, which is where our offices are, our global offices are located. So when I say we create leverage from what we're already buying, and we also have real live customers, because we've had some of the same customers for over 20 years that have been with us since the beginning of time, because our products are not just Me Too products. These are products, we look for something that's very different, unique, that's going to give us a cutting edge. And if it doesn't stay hot in the marketplace and the trends change, then we simply change it because we are not the manufacturer. So we can maintain the quality of the product and demand that from our manufacturers. And then we can vacillate with things in the environment as they change. So for example, as you're looking here, some of the stuff we had when I started, if it weren't for this one bottle right here, I would never have even been introduced to the company. I was honestly looking for a natural product for our son who was about 19, 20 months at the time and had reoccurring ear infections. And I was looking for a natural way. And somebody brought me this bottle. And honestly, I already had my son on the main ingredient in the bottle that had clinical trials and studies behind it, but it was in a chewable format. And I was crushing these tablets every day and putting them in applesauce, yogurt, whatever I could to get it in him. And we had some changes, but when somebody brought this to me and said, you know, you mix it with water, it's a little crystal, mix it with water, and then you drink it on an empty stomach. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, okay, well, this is what I'm giving him. That sounds a lot easier. How's it taste? I tasted it. I was like, that's not bad. I could get that in him. And so I bought that product to be able to trial with him. And honestly, why I'm here today is because 2 weeks later, we had a completely different kid on our hands. I don't have time to go into the whole story of that today. But I'm telling you, the products have so much science behind them. I'm a trainer for our weight management division. I've never endorsed a diet in my entire life because it's all about lifestyle. And that's what we endorse is lifestyle. So in these times that we're dealing with COVID-19 right now, we have actually been deemed an essential business. And our business has actually been growing. And I don't mean just our personal business as well as the company and many other owners. We are turning new $1 million earners every month. And why are we doing that? Because we have products that they're bringing to us that are needed and essential in the environment, from health and wellness all the way to environmental products that are good for our homes and gardens. We actually have a product in the Snap line that's a disinfectant that actually says it fights coronavirus. It says that on the back of the bottle. So we have a lot of different just topical products as well as internal products that are right now very hot to be able to keep people's immune system strong. But you'll see here, there's other divisions in the company. So somebody who's not into health and wellness might be into more things that are business to business, like web solutions for businesses, or debt reduction services like Charlotte specializes in as an accountant. She has a lot of conversations with people about decreasing their debt, because I hate to say it, but it is not set up, our systems are not set up out there for us to be able to get down to a zero debt quickly. It's out there for them to make the money. So we have to learn how to navigate those waters properly to make it in our benefit. So there's a lot of things. So we're grateful that Charlotte's educated in all of that, because I am not. And we get to partner with that. So what I want to show you very quickly is what we are not, so that you can get a concept of what we are. And I'm going to start with what we are not first, because I think sometimes it's easier to understand what we aren't. Because my mother always said, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it must be a duck. And so my first forethought of all of this was, yep, it looks just like everything else I've ever seen. Until I sat and started digging in to go, how can they do that? So I want to just go over that everything we've been exposed to, traditional business, our government, multi-level marketing, franchising, they all are what we call a horizontal marketing structure. And so basically what happens in here is you have somebody who comes up with a really grand idea, and when they decide they're overly self-employed and the only way they're going to create leverage is to be able to get more people. So they start opening other offices. So if this were, say, let's say it's somebody in real estate and they decide they're opening other offices. They open offices in the different sections of the country or the state or whatever. And then they have a broker that person becomes a broker, and then they hire people within the office, and then they have people that report to them. And then you have, these are your senior real estate agents, and then you have real estate agents down at the bottom. Well, what happens when this person sells a widget for that company? I don't care if it's real estate, it's car, it doesn't matter. The other people on the lot or in that office are not getting paid on that sale. Each of them are out to get for themselves. But when this person or any of these people make a sale, the person they report to gets a percentage of that. And depending on the system, depends on what the percentage looks like. And then so on and so forth, it keeps rolling up that everyone they report to gets some kind of cut of that. However, if the home office, the originating founder, makes a sale, do they come down and share that with all of their people and give them commissions on that? Absolutely no. They keep that to themselves. And so the whole idea is they've created leverage for themselves, but everything has always been in this percentage. You'll see the percentage declining. And I've heard people say, you know, they've seen things where they get 100%, but then it cuts off at a certain place. JR's vision was this vertical marketing strategy that's actually now taught in marketing schools and universities. And it's a vertical strategy that he created. And I know this is a lot of arrows, but all this is really saying is that it doesn't matter who buys a product for themselves, who sells a product to a customer. We all are gaining 100% off of each other. Well, how can that be? And that's where I sat and said, that's not possible. 100%, once it's gone, it's gone. And so I want to share with you what I got out of that one day when I sat for the third time, because this takes at least 2 to 3 times to understand. Because we're in this brain of, we're taught and over and over and over again, horizontal marketing. That's what we've been exposed to our whole life. And so in this vertical strategy, it doesn't matter who's at the top of this organization, who's at the bottom of this organization, everyone can benefit at 100% off of each other's purchases. And I'm going to show you another slide that will basically explain that in a nutshell, but I will tell you it's not all going to make sense. It takes another sitting of seeing this full business model. And I encourage you that if anything makes sense that you feel you could help the person or help yourself, the person invited you, or help yourself, all you need to do is say, I don't understand and I'd like more information. We are not here to try and get you to do something you are not willing or ready to do. We are looking for the right people to build a business together, who are looking for something, who are coachable, and who are going to build teams of people who also want that same thing. And if they don't want it, there's no point in us bringing them into our fold. So we are truly qualifying people, and there's a qualification process to go through with this, because our tracking system, it sounds so amazing, and it is. But honestly, a lot of people just cannot buy into it. They're not willing to take the time to get more information, and that's okay, because we are only looking for those who are. But our tracking system, actually, we receive 100% credit for all volume generated within an organization. So everything is based on 2 vertical organizations. We have no horizontal, like I showed you previously, and everyone's getting 100% credit. What does that mean? All businesses sell a product or sell a service, and those products or services are basically scheduled, or they're actually calculated on what they call volume of sales. So volume of houses sold, volume of widgets sold, what have you. And so in that back end of a product, there's a lot of volume that pays the staff, the support staff, the marketing, the advertising, etc. What we do as a company is we take the products, our branded products, of which we have 14 or so vertical markets of branded products that I just showed you. But then we have a ton of affiliate partners like Walmart's and Home Depot's and hotels.com, etc. Thousands of stores that you and I shop from every day. And we also take percentages from them because they use us to do this. We basically share with other people, and they give us a few percent of that sale to be able to say thank you. But on our regular branded products, we get retail profit. So retail profit is usually somewhere around 25 to 30% of the product comes back to our pocket as retail profit when we sell it to a customer. We buy it at cost. Then there is a volume attached to that typically would go through all of that staffing, all of that marketing, all of that advertising, but we get paid as that advertiser, as that marketing arm, as that share with a friend arm, as a help somebody find a solution arm. And that volume is about 70%. And I say 70, some are less, some are more, because products cost differently, ingredients are different costs, packaging is different cost, etc. So it's about 70% of the cost of the product is put into what we call business volume points. And those business volume points are 100% to everyone on the team. So of course I looked and said, great. So if I sell a bunch of product for somebody, I loved that one bottle of that I showed you, which is called OPC3. If I sell that, somebody up here is going to make a lot of money off of me. And then I went and saw this. And I went, whoa. And then I read Robert Kiyosaki's book and went, whoa. And I came home and I said to my husband, you need to read this book. We're bringing our kids up wrong. And I tried to show him this plan. Big mistake. I didn't know enough about it to be able to show it to him effectively. And he basically became not on board with me. So I encourage anyone, together, what we do is we work together as teams. And Zoom is so effective because we can sit right in the living room with you, and we can bring one other person in or 2 other people in, just like we're doing today, and we can talk through these things. I made that big mistake. It took me a few years before my husband actually would get on board with me. Sometimes money talks. But today we are an entity. We work so closely together, but not closely together. We're very different, and we both have our own areas of expertise. And so we work as a team very effectively, but we are very, very different in how we work. And so again, you don't have to, if you don't like your spouse, you don't have to work with your spouse. I'm not telling you that. But what I want to show you is how this tracking system works. So for an example, if you personally use a product, and picture this as just you for an example right now. If you are sitting here and this is the organization of people that you and your team together have developed, because everyone has to put people in the team. They can't go out here. So everybody's people becomes everybody's people. Okay, so here you are. Maybe you introduced with your team 2 other people that you know, Mark and Kate, but maybe you didn't know Kevin. It doesn't matter. Wherever this volume is placed for this product, it flows through the tracking system, computerized tracking system, to everyone's bank account that is actively engaged in their business. No, you can't just sit back and do nothing and expect to get paid. We have small little requirements, but when you meet those small little requirements, you get 100% of that volume of the product. So this person bought it for their personal use. So they didn't get any retail profit because they bought it at cost, but there was BV associated with it, which was business volume because it's a branded product. And then IBV simply means internet business volume. It comes from other products that are not our branded products. So things like Home Depot things, or in this case, you're looking at a shopping annuity product that's a specialty brand that we get specialty IBV on, like toothpaste and deodorant, things like that. All of this runs up though at 100% to everyone. If you yourself had an order, you can place it in the system based on the requirements and restrictions, because there are some so that we can't mitigate the system wrongfully. But basically we get to tell the system, I want to put that volume down here under Kate or Mike. I don't have my reading glasses on. And that volume of mine pays everyone 100%, but I didn't lose any of it. So there's no top, no bottom like traditional corporate America. There's no top, no bottom like traditional multi-level marketing I had seen. And then you look over here, this might be a customer order. Customer orders have retail profit. That retail profit goes in Ashley's pocket, not anyone else's. But the volume of it is 100% again to everyone. You can take your own personal orders, your own customer orders, and place them down into your organization to be able to benefit the most people as possible. And this runs to infinity. There is no cutoff, no layers, no levels, no degradation, I can never get that word out right, of the BV or the IBV. It's 100% to every single person. And that's why the company has been able to do this. They have an estimated retail sales of over $9 billion, but they've paid back to what we call unfranchised owners, because we're very similar to a franchise, but we don't pay royalties. We don't have territorial restrictions, but we do have all the systems, all the training, all the management. Everything is very concise and very detailed so that everybody knows the same exact thing so we can all bring up everyone's success. It's the rising tide raises all boats. But we have paid out over half of those earnings. We've paid back out to our unfranchised owners in commissions. So it's amazing what can be done here. But again, I don't know why you came here today. You may have come here just to help somebody and connect them to somebody else possibly. But like I said at the beginning, we all know people who are looking for what we have. And we are in very exciting times because as an essential business, I can tell you there are people looking every day. I just got a text while we were getting started here from a customer telling me, please send me 4 boxes. Another one from another person who said, Beth, can you please tell me what would be recommended for COVID-19? I'm concerned for my children. Her husband works at a hospital, a cancer hospital. So again, there's people out there that are looking for direction. They're looking for answers. And I know that you are not going to understand all of this in one sitting. Hopefully what this did was elicit some questions. And so I just want to encourage you to sit down with the person who invited you, and they'll ask for me to join them so that we can do this and get to know each other, so that we can find out, who do you know? You know, I always say the best thing to do is get somebody else to come evaluate this and run it up the flagpole, see if it's a fit or not. Because if it's not a fit, we're not interested in bringing them into the fold. If they are a fit, then let's see if we can figure out how they can make this work for themselves. Go out and do some, events, virtual events, to be able to find some potential customers for our products, learn about the products, try the products. I just recommend schedule a follow-up. Thank you so much for joining us. I am going to open this up since we have just a few people on today. When it gets over 20, it gets a little crazy. So I'm actually going to stop my share and let me just